Welcome to ShareTreck. It is 27th of January 2021 and the markets are looking a bit mixed. As I mentioned in my earlier videos, the turbulence is still not gone because all of our risk factors are still around. Nothing has changed. And even the Fed speech yesterday, everything was anticipated in the beginning. Nothing has changed there either. And that's the overall pessimistic tone in the market because no one knows which of these risks will materialize. The Ukraine conflict is there. We don't know what's happening in Kazakhstan. The tightening is coming up. The interest rate hikes expectation have changed slightly after the Fed meeting and press conference. What has come out is that probably the last increase, that is the fourth interest rate hike, which was expected in December, may probably happen in November. And the third interest rate hike, which was supposed to happen in the third quarter, might probably be following up with the second interest rate hike in May. So May and June may probably be two back-to-back interest rate hikes and then one in November. So this is the kind of decoding that the market has done based on whatever they heard from the FOMC statement and Jerome Powell's speech. So all in all, the number of interest rate hikes have not changed. The fact that the Fed is going to taper is not changed. So nothing much has changed. So I don't see reasons why things should be exuberant, except for the fact that the tech companies have presented great results. So if we were to go back and look at what we had here earlier, so IBM has already presented excellent results and it said it has no concerns about the next quarter. Microsoft has also provided excellent results and they don't seem to have any concerns about the next quarter. Tesla also provided blockbuster results. The only thing that they did was they said semiconductor shortage is going to still be a constraint. But if you look back to what they did in 2021, despite semiconductor shortage and despite having the COVID lockdowns and other things, they are still able to manage to exceed their targets. So I don't see any reason why Tesla can't do that again in 2022, given that they have said they're not going to bring up new models at this point of time, but rather continue to work on tooling for those model manufacturers. So I'm thinking that Tesla should not have gone negative, and we see in the market that Tesla went negative after the results. So it's like the market is looking at glass half full rather than half empty rather than glass half full. So that I think is the main tone right now, and perhaps it will continue to remain until all the risks dissipate. So that's again my consistent message to everyone who is watching the videos here. So next we'll have to look at what happens with Apple, and that will dictate further improvement in the sentiment. But overall, that's what I think we have had so far today. Starting off green and then going back into red. That has been the general trend so far. Now let's look at the economic calendar highlights that we were talking about. Today we had the initial jobless claims and the GDP numbers. So the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits fell by 30,000 from the previous period of 260,000 in the week ending January 22. This is kind of matching the market estimates that were prevalent at that time. It was the first decrease in initial claims in 4 weeks, following 3 straight weeks of increases, suggesting that the impact of the Omicron variant on the labor market is now receding, or it's not that much of an impact anymore. So that's where we are at with regard to the unemployment benefits, which I think is a positive news for the market, and it should be a catalyst from the positive side. The next factor that we were talking about was regarding the GDP. So the results are out. The American economy expanded at an annualized rate of 6.9% on quarter Q4 2021, much higher than the 2.3% in Q3 and well above the forecast of 5.5%. So far, it is the strongest GDP growth in 5 quarters, with the biggest upward contribution coming from private inventories, which was 4.9%, basically due to motor vehicle dealers, as companies had been drawing down stocks since the beginning of 2021. Personal consumption 3%, pushed higher by a 4.7% surge in services spending, namely healthcare, recreation, and transport. Fixed investment rebounded by 1.3%, led by intellectual property products that were partly offset by a decrease in structures. Residential investment, however, continued to decline and was down 0.8%, while a net trade made no contribution to growth as exports jumped 24.5%, led by consumer goods, industrial supplies, foods, and travel. And also imports came at 17.7% higher than expected, considering full 2021. The economy advanced 5.7%, the most since 1984, if you were to consider entire 2021 stats. So that's where we are at with regard to GDP. Again, I think that's a pretty positive reading for us and should contribute on the positive catalyst side. Let's get started with the news. One good news that we have today is from Excision Bio, and what they are saying is that their HIV treatment pipeline is now progressing. They were developing CRISPR-based therapies intended to cure viral infectious disease, and today they announced the initiation of a first-in-human phase 1 of a 2-phase clinical trial of EBT-101 in individuals living with human immunodeficiency virus type 1, HIV. So EBT-101 is a unique in vivo CRISPR-based therapeutic designed to excise large portions of HIV proviral DNA. The investigational program employs CRISPR-Cas9 and guide RNAs, which target 3 sites within the HIV genome, thereby excising large portions of the HIV genome and minimizing potential viral escape. EBT-101 utilizes a adeno-associated virus, which is called AAV, which is an abbreviation, to deliver a one-time intravenous infusion intended to functionally cure HIV infection. A functional cure is when a virus is not completely eliminated by a body's immune system, but can be controlled without medication. In this instance, I think virus remnants will be inert or benign components of the HIV genome after the CRISPR editing has been done on three locations on the genome. So that's how I look at it. They are looking at the safety and tolerability of CRISPR in removing fragments of viral DNA from genome of infected cells and tissues that are known to be reservoirs of HIV. The existence of such reservoir has been a major hurdle in our efforts to cure HIV on a permanent basis. So if they succeed, again, this is all a question of how we are precise in delivering the payload to all the components of the genome that we are targeting, to all the cells in the body where it needs to go, and to prevent any off-base edits. So it's very exciting to see the in-human trials because it's already been tested on primates, and that's how we have arrived at this level. So I'm really optimistic about this. And now, based on this, what I feel is that it's possible that by the end of the year, not only will we have good news regarding sickle cell by end of the year and maybe first quarter, but potentially we may also have good news about the results of this particular study. Because if it's done well in primates, there's a very, very good chance that it should do well in humans also. So it's very, very positive for us. And with that note, let's get started to look at what we have in the market. Okay, so let's look at the VXN. You might notice that the chart is looking a bit different from what it does usually. So based on user feedback, I decided to expand the chart so that you can see the lines clearly and you're able to follow much better. So if you look at the VXN, you can see that the VXN is dropping. It started off high in the morning and then it came down, but it has continued to remain just above this level here, which is at 35.48. So we have consistently been above 35.48. Right now we are at 35.73. if today we break down below this and stay below it by close, it would be great, because yesterday also we went down sharply all the way down to 33.62 and then bounced back up. Yesterday was a very slim candle, and the bears were very successful in keeping it up despite a lot of efforts by the bulls. But today I think the bulls have been much more successful, and we have a much thicker candle and we are going downwards, so that's a good sign. If we look at the NASDAQ, we have a marginal gain of 0.48%, and we still have a support which is at around 13,329.77, and our resistance is high and it's at 14,227.00. So if you look at the MACD, it's absolutely bearish. But when MACD becomes so bearish, there's a good chance of a turning around. It's kind of a dead cat bounce, or people getting optimistic that the bottom has already reached and trying to start bottom fishing. That's when we'll get a little bit of a jump. So that is a possibility. And also the fact that there has been good technology results from Microsoft as well as Tesla also is a good result in my books. And IBM also gave good results. So with all those good results behind us, I think we need to see some positives. The only negatives, notable negatives, were JP Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. Apart from that, everything else has been good. So maybe the optimism will start trickling in and we get a bit of a turn on MACD, and then that can be good for everyone across the board. Let us look at our biotech stocks. So the time now is 11:15, so we got plenty of time before the market closes. Since the morning, I have seen a lot of fluctuations out here. When I started the morning, the entire biotech sector that we track was green. Then just before I started my recording, more than half were red, and now I think we have become more green again. So this fluctuation will keep on happening, and in my mind, all this fluctuation is happening because there are a lot of market participants who are not yet clear, and they are pessimistic, and they are still focused on all the unresolved risks that we have. And I think that's the right thing to do, look at the risks. But the time has come to be selective on the stocks that will have to face the risks. So I would make a suggestion that we should look at good stocks which have got good prospects. They are income earning stocks, they are dividend paying stocks, they have got products in the market, and they are a proven commodity. Those kind of companies should probably stay green in this market, and probably they are the ones that are keeping the NASDAQ up. So if you look at the composition of the NASDAQ, the main drivers are going to be Microsoft, Apple, and these big tech companies, which account for a huge portion. They are what is keeping it up. And those companies will still be a safe harbor to preserve capital. And the companies which are not producing revenues, which are not paying dividends, and which do not have a product in the market yet, those are the companies which are going to be considered very risky in this market, and therefore they may not retain the positive gains that they have. So I'd put some of the CRISPR stocks in those categories. But when you look at something like CRISPR Therapeutics here, which is in negative, I find that very difficult to believe, because CRISPR Therapeutics has got a lot going for it. If you look at Vertex, yeah, it has got up 2.7 positive. It is being rewarded there. But I would expect CRISPR also to end up positive today. So there is nothing to say about how this market is going to go. It's all on the whims and fancy of the participants. So let us quickly look at each of these stocks and see if we have gained any ground. So in Editas, we are up 6.29%. So we have gone above our support of 18.20, and we have stayed above that. So that's a good sign. The MACD is also turning bullish, and the momentum is picking up. So I'm really excited about Editas staying positive today and probably putting on a few more points before end of the day. Let's look at Vertex. Vertex is up 2.61%. And if you look at the chart here, it has gone above earlier resistance, which was at 229.32. So I'm going to mark this as a support. This is again another positive gain for us for Vertex. And in my books, Vertex is going to be on a bullish channel. It may consolidate a bit on the side, but it's going to be predominantly bullish because of the sickle cell therapies that are around the corner. Next, we go to PFE. So PFE is up 2.25%. That's $1.19. And again, here we have gone above our previous resistance, which was at 53.50. And therefore, I'm going to mark it as a support. And the MACD is turning over to the positive because it was beaten down so much, and it's already started moving towards the signal line, and the momentum is picking up. So I would expect Pfizer also to end the market positive by the end of the day. Let's go on to Intelia. Intelia is up 1.82, that is $1.55, and I'm really gratified to note that it's above this support channel. I'm going to turn this green just so that it's very clear that it's a support channel. It's a support channel in the bear track that is coming down. So we are right now challenging resistance of 87.07. Right now we are at 86.65, and the MACD is turning bullish. The momentum is also picking up. Therefore, I would expect that we will stay positive for Intelia, and I would be really glad if we could end up the day above the resistance of 87.07, so that I can turn that into a support. Next, let us look at Novartis, NVS. It's up 1.53% and just below our resistance of 85.75, and it's also just below our exponential moving average of 100 days. So it's a 100 days EMA, so it's just below that. So it's got twin resistance out here, so it's going to be very challenging for Novartis to go beyond that. So I would be glad if we could finish the day with a positive gain for Novartis. If you look at the MACD is down, it's very bearish, and it will go down further. The momentum is slightly picking up, but I don't think we are going to be able to maintain all the positives for Novartis by the end of the day. So that's where I think we are going to be, just slightly positive by end of day. Regeneron is up 0.85%, and I have drawn this pennant out here. So there are two ways for me to interpret this pennant. If I take a macro look and think that this is an upward trend, and we have a tenet which is an extension of that, then I think we should break up on the upside. If I assume this as a short upward trend and then look at this pennant again, I would assume that it should go up. So I have a more than 50% odds that we are going to break up from out of this triangle and potentially challenge our resistance, which is at 619.54. Whereas if I look at the MACD, MACD is just about to cross the signal line. It's almost parallel, and the momentum is slightly picking up. So my bets are that Regeneron will stay positive today, and potentially tomorrow we should be able to break above this pennant and go into a positive direction, which will be a good breakout. After that, the price can continue to use this downward sloping red line as a support, and probably this upward red line would become a support for bouncing off. So let us see how it goes. That's my 2 cents on Regeneron. Besides, we have our earnings coming up on 4th of February. So around 4th of Feb, like this is 3rd of Feb when this pennant intersects and ends. So 4th of Feb may as well as be a good catalyst to make this jump out. So that's my opinion. Teladoc is up 0.79%. Good shot in the arm for ARC-G. Because it's a good part of the ARC-G portfolio. So that's good news for them. But when I look at our bullish divergence, which was there, I didn't call it a bullish divergence. I said that it will be more bullish. So we are still in the same situation, and we are seeing a slightly better holding of the price. We have not gone below 69.33 in the last three days so far. Each of these candle is a one-day candle. So I would expect that given that the MACD is trying to cross over the signal line, it's currently running parallel, and given that our RSI is trying to pick up, I would expect that we'll retain the gains in Teladoc for the end of the day. And in any case, I hope that we do not fall below 69.67 to close the day. PACB is the next one. It's up 1.23%. And again, PACB, the MACD is trying to turn positive and become a bullish sign. So if that happens, and if momentum starts to pick up, I would assume that PACB will retain its positives today. Otherwise, I think that it may end up somewhere around 9.95 to close the day. Let us hope for the best. Next, let us go on to IMTX, which is up 0.46%. That's around 4 cents. I'm glad that we are still above our support at 9.65. The MACD is not looking great. The momentum is not great. So I'd be glad if we continue to stay above the support level as far as IMTX is concerned. ARCG, it's down 0.39%, and we still are above our support, which is at 42.62, and we have a resistance which is going to be at 48.82. Our MACD is still bearish. Our momentum is still very bearish. So I don't see how we can retain this 20-cent gain. So I'd be delighted if we are able to end the day positive, but in any case, as long as we are above the support of 42.62, I would be happy. And ideally, I think we should try and stay above 42.26, which is where we have been in the last last 4 days. So that will be another positive. But if we fell below 45.12, that would surprise me. Right now we are at 45.82. Let's go on to CRISPR Therapeutics, which is down 0.23%. But the bearish divergence is gone, the bullish divergence is gone, and we are kind of tracking to norms. So if I look at the MACD, it's trying to go positive, it's trying to go bullish and cross over the signal line, but not yet. It could probably take until the end of the day. The momentum is moderate, it's not picking up, it's flat. So if CRISPR doesn't put on too much more negative, I'd be happy if it ends the day above minus 0.5. That's my 2 cents on CRISPR. Let's go on to Bluebird. It's down 0.52. It's still struggling to break the resistance, which is at 8.10. We are at 7.68. MACD is trying to turn bullish. So I'd be glad if we could just pierce this resistance today. And let's go on to Beam. Beam is down 0.72%, and that accounts for around 48 or 50 cents. And the earlier line that I had drawn here to show a kind of bullish divergence, that kind of has gone out of the window, because if you look at the new dynamic out here, we have got let's move this out here. We are returning back to norms, in other words, because if we were to put these two together, so it's more or less the same kind of a slope. So I don't expect much from the divergence tool, but the MACD is giving me some hope because it's trying to cross over the signal line. The RSI is sluggish, so based on the MACD, I would assume that we should not lose too much more on today's cycle. And also, if I was to look at this this particular line that I have drawn here, I would assume that we should probably end the day at 63.07, and that will be a good outcome for the day. Let's look at Verb, which is down 3%. That's around 89 cents, and my bullish divergence is still intact out here, or maybe not. No, yeah, we are still got some kind of a bullish bias. So I would hope that we are able to kind of come back and challenge this support of 29.72, which has now turned into a resistance. This is not looking good for Verb in the short term, but the dark pool momentum seems to be positive. So that's all I got for today. And as always, I would thank you for tuning in for this chat, and also for giving some feedback, and at least one question that I have for my expert for tomorrow, for the interviews for Friday. What else? Thanks once again. Please do put a like mark on this video if you have watched it, and even if you like it a little bit. It gets more people to see this video. And thanks for your support again. Bye for now until the next session. Take care.